Welcome to the Texas Truck Channel podcast, episode 35, Brian. It's been a minute. We've had a lot going on. We've both been sick
Yeah,
and
not
could
not
barely
COVID,
talk.
but sick. Yeah,
Yeah, right. Just allergies, seasonal flu things, man
crud.
flu. I got a flu shot and then it just sent me off the edge, and then just all kinds of things going on. Right.
Yeah, good times. Yeah,
I mean, it's been hard to even film. We've had a few. In fact, you may see a few videos. We'll talk about what we filmed soon at the end of this, but you may have
Which
noticed we
one?
weren't 100% in those.
Oh, a lot of takes, by the way. I've edited one of those so far, and there's a lot of cough cuts in that edit. So
And there may be some cost in this thing. We apologize now. In fact, I want to pause real quick so that I don't cough on you. But we've also had some other things going on, Brian. We had this little thing happen a couple weeks ago. Not last week, but the week before. It's called the Texas Rangers winning the World Series.
okay, hang on. I'm glad you went there because that was the top of my list.
We are Texas Truck Channel. I mean, I've got the shirt to prove it. World champions.
Mine's in the mail.
Yep. And it was glorious. It was glorious.
Craig, let's just pause. Forget screw trucks for a minute. Look, you've been waiting, and I've been witnessing my entire life you suffering as a Rangers fan, and me being annoyed by proxy. I can't tell you how many games we've gone to that we've lost, but I can tell you it's more than games we've gone to where we've won our entire childhood. But we've nonetheless had a great time just about the entire time. And I remember at one point I lived right by the ballpark, and I would get free tickets. I go like once a week, maybe twice a week, and just expected them to lose. That's where they were at that time. Not this year. They showed up, and they showed up in force. It was awesome. Even I watched it. It was so good.
Oh yeah, no, it was wonderful. It was quite the run, quite the magical ride, and it's glorious. Brian, it's been. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there as of this recording. This will come out a little bit later, but as of this recording, we have been world champs for 9 days. So still feels good. It just feels like I'm still on cloud 9. It's wonderful. So
you've had a skip in your step that I've never seen in you. It's awesome.
It's been great. Like anytime anything bad's happened, like on the shoot or at work or just everyday life things, I just my wife's mirror broke on her Pilot the other day, on the Honda Pilot, and I told her it's okay. The Rangers are world champs. It's okay.
That's all. This too shall pass. It's fine. Let it all go.
Yeah. So okay.
The funny part is, she didn't tell you, but that probably broke like a month before the Rangers won. She just knew that was the time to bring it out.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so remember, we're going to get into it. We both got something healthy to drink, coffee, and maybe some adult beverages, and cough syrup.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So we've each picked 2 news articles, truck or automotive related, that we'd like to talk about. We think are fun and interesting and relevant. Brian, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay.
And we do our best to not talk about these prior, so we can kind of catch these live and talk, because we talk about so many automotive related things every day.
Yeah.
So hopefully these are things you and I haven't talked about yet. I don't think they are. But why don't you go first and we'll see where we're at.
Well, there's an elephant in the room that I just want to get out of the way, and we've lightly talked about it, Craig, but I feel like we're just obligated to bring it up because, look, it's full-size truck news and we just need to cover it. So let's just get out of the way. We'll make it quick. I've got about 6 other options that are way more entertaining and interesting, but let's just get this out of the way. 2024 Ram has actually been updated. So not only can you buy the Ram of the last 5 years currently, you can buy the one of the last 9 years currently. They right now sell 2 Rams. One is old and ancient. They still sell it. They call it a Warlock sometimes. It's just old. They call it the Classic, actually. And they sell the current one. Now they're going to update the current one. And I'll just get on the highlights of it. Basically, the Hemi's gone. That's the big news.
That's the big news. And I think this is actually going to be a 2025 model, if I'm correct. But
I'm looking at it. I think maybe that's what it is. They have the Ram Charger, which I'm about to talk about in a minute. No, it's actually, let's see here. No, it's 24. Let's see here. Double check. No, you're right. 25. I had a typo on a different outlet. Actually, Motor Trend had it wrong. It's 24. I was looking at their.
Yeah, I've seen it in several different places both ways. So
both ways. So, anyways, 25. Excuse me. Correction. 25 Ram. 1500 is what we're referring to here. Not the 2500 and 3500, but the 1500. The TRX is dead, And the reason why it's dead is because of cafe standards. They just can't sell any more Hellcats. They just can't do it. They've been, for those that don't know, Dodge and Ram and Stellantis have been buying cafe credits from Tesla for about 10 years. And now that policy, that loophole where they were able to buy cafe credits to offset their CO2 creation from their products, they can't do it anymore. So Tesla's either out of them or they can't sell them anymore, whatever it is. So you see things like the Hornet coming out with their hybrid. They're scrounging something out as quick as they can. The 4x8 Jeeps are trying to offset their CO2 creation really hard, really fast. That's why you keep seeing those coming out. They have to based off government regulations. So Hemi's gone. They can't make it work with modern standards. They got to move on. So what they moved on to, Craig, is the Hurricane Inline 6. And let me tell you, this is risky.
Very.
I know that Ford did the EcoBoost thing and they put a lot on the line and it paid off big. Good job, Ford. This is not an EcoBoost V6. The EcoBoost V6 is built on a Duratec that has been around for a long time before EcoBoost, and it was actually a really, really good motor. Very durable, very reliable, and turns out it takes the boost great. That was successful. The Hurricane, which you and I have driven once, Craig, in a Grand Wagoneer, and it had a check engine light on it with about 100 miles on the clock. So just so you know, that is based on the Fiat 4-cylinder turbo, which I've driven in a few other things that did not have a problem, but I've driven it in a few things that did have problems with it. So we had about 3 of those or 4 of those experiences, and 2 of them had check engine lights. So makes me a little concerned. It's not based on something with roots. It's based on a Fiat Italian-based 4-banger that they literally have added 2 more cylinders to, and they call it a Hurricane.
Yeah.
Nervous about that in a truck application, but time will tell. The Hemi wasn't impenetrable either. It wasn't perfect, but it was at least robust enough to do most of what lifestyle trucks need to do. So we'll leave it at that. Any contention there, Craig? Anything you want to add to it?
No, nothing else to add really. It is a big move. The 2 big things are exactly what you said. The Hemi's gone and the TRX is gone. They also added a new tungsten trim line, which is like an ultra platinum, whatever. I don't know.
It's an ultimate Denali fighter is what it's trying to be.
Good for them.
Yeah.
But back to the engine news. I mean, it's going to make. Let's see here. Well, it's rated at 420 horsepower and 469 pound-feet of torque, and then there's a high output option.
Yep.
Which will make 540 horsepower and 521 pound-feet of torque, which means 2 things. One, you'll be able to put a tune on the bass.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what that means.
It's people are going to like this. I would actually say the common buyer of these that other than not hearing the V8 noise is going to like the drivability of this probably better.
Yeah. And I think it will cure a Hemi complaint you and I have heard a lot of and experienced a lot of, is that the Hemi isn't the best towing V8 because it's a revvy V8. It's cam to rev out, which is super fun. Unladen, the Hemi is a more fun V8 compared to like an LS GM motor. But this turbo inline 6 is going to have a lot more torque a lot sooner in the power band. I bet it tows way better.
Also interesting, they're on their Stellantis' media site. It talks about it's going to feature a new high torque rear axle to further enhance ride quality for trucks equipped with the high output engine. I don't know what that means.
I looked into that too, and that doesn't equal ride quality and torque rating aren't related at all. So I'm not sure where they're going with that. And they already have coil suspension. The only thing I can think is maybe they have so much, nosedive or throttle pitch under throttle that they have a different spring rate. But the axle, I think it's just bad marketing. I think it's just a more robust axle housing, what that is.
Yeah, interesting way to word that. Just thought that was weird. So
yeah, it is different. One more thing, there's actually 2 things they're adding to the Ram lineup. Well, 3. The tungsten trim is 1. Okay, who cares? Mechanically, who cares? They already made a really nice Laramie. It's not like they didn't have a nice one. Not just every brand, and this isn't them. This is all of them. They all have like 3 super high trims, and I don't understand it. Like the Lariat or LTZ or Laramie and up are all super nice. So adding more to it's just kind of gimmicky, but that's fine. Whatever. There's apparently enough people who want to buy those things. It's fine. They have added a new trim, Craig, in replacement of the TRX. And talk
about that. Yeah.
And I'm glad they're doing this because I actually have a friend of mine has a TRX, and we fight all the time about how much better the Raptor R is than the TRX just to push the buttons. And he flat out told me before this was even announced, I hope that they kill the TRX instead of putting an inline six in it and calling it a TRX. Because I hope they leave the TRX as the supercharged V8 and let it die that way. Die with honor.
Yeah.
And part of this is because his value will go up if that happens. But I get it. I don't blame him either. And so they've come out, Craig, with the RHO. It's actually RHO, but I'm going to call it the RHO from here on out. And that is meant to not fight the Raptor R, but it is meant to use that high output 540 horse Hurricane inline six and fight the Raptor V6. That's what they're going against with that.
I actually think this is a really smart move.
Me too. You can't beat the Raptor R without that Hellcat.
Yeah.
Or even with it, honestly. So you might as well outgun the V6.
Yeah, this is genius. Let's just let the TRX die a little bit. Because here's what else is going to happen. They're either going to boost this thing even more down the road.
Yeah.
Or they're going to, I'm not sure what else they've done with this 3-liter inline six in other applications. But, I know what's the Alpha hot sport sedan? What's that called?
Oh, the AT4, AT5 or CT4, CT5.
No, the Alpha, not the Cadillac.
Oh, Alfa Romeo, the
Julia.
Yeah, Julia
Quadrifoglio.
Quadrifoglio.
What motor's in that?
That is the Ferrari California V8 chopped down to a V6. That's twin turbo V6.
Yeah, that's probably not happening. Never mind.
Probably not now. But there have been a bunch of rumors from the Mopar parts division. They've been saying this for about 2 years now. This Hurricane is, you can't see, I'm air quoting, is capable of 1,000 horsepower. They're very proud of that as like a crate engine to go into muscle cars and home build stuff. So, I could see a RHO GT coming out or RHO R coming out at some point to come back at the Raptor R. It's possible, but I think they're smart at letting the TRX die and let that name go with it and maybe come back in a different flavor to be competitive.
Right. Yeah. Right. Do you want to get into the Ram Charger part of the news as well? Or
that's the last part of it. And also before we get into that, there's 2 motors available with the future Ram. There's a 3.5 liter V6. I'm sorry, not 3.5, 3.6 liter Pentastar V6, which is...
It lives on, baby.
Yeah, man. It's by and large tried and true. One of our favorite motors in the Slantis lineup because it doesn't get any credit. And it's good in a Caravan. It's good enough in a Ram truck. It's kind of their workhorse. It works for them. And
look, I'm going to make a bunch of people mad with this. It's the modern day Slant 6. Maybe not that as reliable as that Slant 6 was, but it's the workhorse of Mopar these days. And it's fun. It's a good motor. It really is. It gets trashed a lot for, I think, its application in some ProMaster vans. But
yeah, it's mostly transmission related on front wheel drive. That's usually what that is.
But in rear wheel drive application, like problem solved.
Yeah, no problem. No, you're absolutely right. That's a really good take, actually, because it's fuel efficient. It's fun to rev out. And compared to the pushrod Hemi lifter situation, it's more reliable than the Hemi. So in our experience and people that we know that have owned them and rentals we've had, you and I have both rented those in multiple applications and been happy with them. We've had them in pressers as well and at events. So anyways, you also have the 2 motors you talked about. So the 2 flavors of Hurricane, the 420 horse, the 540 horse. And then comes the Ram Charger. This is a direct, I'm just going to call it, it's a direct murder machine to the Ford Lightning. That's what it is. Okay. It makes the Ford Lightning less credible or less viable to the EV owner market. So what they've done is they looked at an old Chevy Volt, Craig, and they realized that EV propulsion is great. The problem is recharging it, right? So if you take this and you give it a gas motor generator, keep the electric motors with a super high torque, don't put a CVT hybrid transmission complicated thing like we've seen in so many applications, inline sandwich hybrid powertrains, they just are hard to calibrate. Ask Miles the CX-90 if you are wondering what we're talking about. That's a prime example of that. We've met several that struggle with that. So eliminate the connection of the gas motor trying to work with the hybrid powertrain at this level of torque. It's just going to be complicated. So Lightning gets away with it from Ford because it's just electric powered. Well, this is mechanically just electric powered. It has a gas generator to recharge the battery when it runs out. That's it. You can plug it in at home. You can get a fair amount of range out of it. You can use the gas that's on board as well and get just shy of 700 miles of range. And do you want to guess what that generator motor is, Craig? Oh, Craig's muted, so you can't hear him, but he's saying, I don't know. I'm here to tell you, it is the Pentastar V6. That's what it is. So they are using that thing again. And I don't know about you, Craig, but that is a massive generator just to recharge batteries.
That's a huge generator. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And hats off to him for not throwing in a 3-cylinder from something out of the Fiat line. Like, that's cool. They just stuck with the good old V6 and threw it in there. That's great. I love that. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
no, it's absolutely amazing. And what it does is it that's actually goes directly to the onboard 130 kilowatt generator. It's
It's massive.
wild, is what
Well,
it is.
okay. And they've beat Ford at their own game in the Lightning flavor, at least, in that it can not only charge other EVs that might be out of juice, they actually market it this way. It can also recharge your house when your power goes out. And unlike a Ford Lightning, it's just a generator. It won't run out of power source. It can just regenerate its juice when it needs to.
No, it's really an interesting take. Honestly, I think a smarter take for especially in a truck application.
Yeah,
This makes sense. Now
it's
now
brilliant.
you've got plenty of range. You don't have the range anxiety.
Yeah, it just doesn't
Um,
exist. That's gone now.
yeah, it's just gone. And then you also get Brian, this has a higher towing capacity than the gas motors do. I think the
Dang.
gas is like 11,500 pounds. This is 14,000 pounds of towing. That's
God, that
crazy.
is insane. I wonder if they're using an air ride to get there because that is so much payload already with the batteries.
Yeah,
It's
I can't
interesting.
wait to hear more about this. This thing's really neat.
It is, me too. And they're kind of light on the details. Like we don't have, gear ratios and stuff like that. Kind of like the Lightning.
Yeah.
They did say 0 to 60 is expected in 4.4 seconds.
Mhm.
I'll tell you that right now that is slower than the Lightning. And I think it's partially because it has another gas motor thrown in there and a heavier body. So
Right.
it just tells me it's going to be heavy. The car weight's going to be up there. But that's all the RAM stuff. Interior updates doesn't look drastically different. It hasn't departed from the flavor. If you like Rams now, you'll like them in the future. Everything's just updated. That's really all there is
Mhm.
to it, the interior.
Yeah, not earth shattering, but an update, which is needed.
Yeah.
Because
And
they were
meaningful.
great, and but they needed to be refreshed, and it's refreshed, so that's what you need. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to
all right,
that.
all right, Brian, I've got a very exciting one for you. You actually stole my Ram one. That's the one I knew we were both going to pick.
Yeah, I just beat you to it. That's all.
But I picked a very fun one, and I'm going to go with um, why the AM radio is dying in EVs.
But you said this was a fun one.
Yes.
You
Yes.
brought up
Okay.
AM
Listen.
radio,
Yes.
boring,
First.
and EVs,
Nope. Listen.
boring.
No. Look, AM radio. A lot of car manufacturers have been trying to take these out. It's dumb. There's no need for that. There's old people like me and older that need to listen to AM radio. You might be listening to the Rangers game. Who knows what you listen to? I don't know what you're trying to listen to, but it's important. It's a frequency that's still used by people.
It's a
And
pastime for boomers. I get it. That's
no,
fine.
no, that's look. It's still the Trucker Radio Network on WBAP 820. People need that. You got all this range in this RAM charger. What are you going to
Okay.
listen to? You don't want to listen to Sirius XM. You want to actually need a radio signal. What if the
Okay.
satellite dies?
All right.
Okay.
Why is that happening? I'm curious. I've seen a bunch of articles about this. And I'm like, why are people writing about this? Must be good.
So it was very interesting because with the advent of the EV, we started seeing more and more people say, "Hey, look, BMW started it. Ford mentioned it at one point and then retreated. They're like, hey, AM gone. And in fact, some people are talking about even FM, but AM especially gone. Well, I had no idea why they were doing it, except they're just trying to be really modern, and they think people that buy EVs don't want AM. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Why is that?
Being cheap, whatever. Yeah.
Well, yeah, why is that going away? Until I read an article today or yesterday, and it talked about the reason it's so complicated and why it's probably going away is because here's what. The electromagnetic fields around EV batteries and electric components interfere with the AM radio signal,
No
resulting in a high
way.
frequency humming noise that isn't pleasant to the ears.
Interesting.
And I never thought about that because, look, as we were setting up for this call or this podcast just a minute ago, I mean, we had a little interference issues with some electronic devices. We had to move some devices, and so it's a real thing. And if you drive around with AM
Yeah.
radio and you drive by a power station or a transmission station,
You lose
the
it.
signal gets messed up.
Yeah.
I never thought about an electric vehicle transmitting so much power that it was creating issues. That makes sense. So now what they have to do, they average or manufacturers estimate for the cost of shielding and filtering devices, it costs $70 a vehicle to make that work properly.
That's actually a big number.
$70 doesn't sound like a lot. I know it doesn't, but it really is a huge number. And look, we see car manufacturers skimp on, auto up switches because that would cost like 50 cents more. $70 per vehicle is a big deal.
Well, say on like a 250,000 unit vehicle,
Yeah.
that's $17.5 million.
Right.
if you add that up, and by the
Yeah.
way, like a Mazda CX-5 is more than that. It's like
Mhm.
almost 300,000. So that's
Yeah.
that's a lot. If you had something in volume like that. Interesting. I didn't realize that. Okay.
So it was just something I didn't know. I never really understood why they're doing it. I just thought they were trying to be extra hip and whoa, AMs for old people.
Well,
And
there it is, but that's
that
okay.
part might all be true, but
Right.
there is still legitimate radio shows on AM radio and all those things. And so, but I never really thought about the reason why. And I thought that was an interesting reason. So there you go. Quick news article, but
Okay.
I thought that was interesting. So,
All right. I'm down with that.
mhm.
That's very interesting. And we're doing. Let's see here. We're limited to 2 articles, right?
You only
Okay.
get two. Pick, well, you get one more.
Well, this one's just. I'm going to add a speculative one later. It's not really an article. All right. Here's one. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go with the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Trail Sport.
That was my other one.
Was it really? No way. Okay, well, I want you to take that one. I'm going to do my speculation one then. Because
No, you go ahead. You go ahead with it.
do you have a backup?
Yeah, I can find something. Don't worry.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't have a whole lot to add about it. I've got some disappointing facts about it that,
Yeah.
personally. But basically, let's get into it. So, 2024, there's been a lot of talk about the Trail Sport Pilot, which we had this year, and it was awesome. It was actually viable off road. It had killer looking wheels, it had good tires, and an all new platform. The current Ridgeline is still built on the old platform. And so we're thinking, oh, hey, 2024 might have an updated platform like the Pilot does. Well, maybe not, because that's a big expenditure to get it there. Well, maybe they'll actually add the Trail Sport goodies that the Passport has. Because the Passport has like slightly different bumper, different wheel and tire, that kind of stuff. Well, what they've done with the Ridgeline is they have taken the tailgate and they have embossed it with the words Ridgeline.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an old GMC basically, or
Yep.
an old Chevy that says Silverado. And then they've added this orange Trail Sport badge on the tailgate,
Mhm.
a set of tires,
Mhm.
and as far as I can tell, that is it.
Well,
They've
okay, no, they did add. I could have sworn there was
there's
the
drive
suspension's
modes.
a little different and skid plates. No,
There's a skid plate, but it's not like that big of a deal. I don't think there's a lift at all. I'm looking at this thing here. I don't see anything mentioned about a lift at all.
there's new
Um,
suspension tuning and updated spring rates.
okay, well that might be meaningful because the Trail
Supposed
Sport
to
did,
improve articulation off road.
so it softened the spring a little bit. I don't know about that, but what I'm talking about is at least aesthetically, it looks like a big letdown for those that were expecting something pretty cool.
Well, and part of it is because the Honda Ridgeline always came with that great torque vectoring all-wheel drive. To be fair,
Totally, yeah. And in all reality, is they've all of them come with that torque vectoring. And that torque vectoring is they call it the Let's see here,
IVTM or something like
yeah,
that.
IVTM4 is what it is, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually torque vectoring. We've experienced it. It works, dude. It is totally viable. The
Yeah,
only
so the
thing
problem
this
is it
thing,
was already kind of good.
well, what I'm getting at, what I'm asking for is, we talk about this all the time. Give me a different front bumper with better approach angle, because I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
This thing will not make it up our hill test. I know it won't, and
No,
it's disappointing.
and you're right. That's probably the most frustrating thing about it. Like, seriously, we can't fix
Just change
that?
the nose. Yeah. GMC and Chevy are really good about this. When they do an off road package, that bumper is gone. They've done
Yeah.
a real good job at that, and I wish Honda would do something kind of like that.
No,
Because,
it's
like you
very
said,
frustrating. And I think the takeaway here is, to me, is look, the Ridgeline's is a very
it's a good
reasonably
truck.
priced vehicle.
Yeah, it's awesome. We loved
It
it.
looks like this Trail Sport's going to be available for 38 grand, maybe right around there, and
Okay,
or
this
right
is
under
priced
40.
well.
That's good. That's really good.
I mean, but like a Ranger trimmer is incredibly good in terms of capability. It's more capable,
Sure.
and it's in that wheelhouse. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but this is a little bigger. It was a little more comfortable. I'm just saying it's a very functional, roomy, well priced vehicle. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not bad.
Well, and we both loved it. Just owning it, or not owning it, having it on loan for a week. We're like, God, if people are honest about their truck needs, this is it, dude.
Yeah,
Unless you tow all the
absolutely.
time, this is the one you want.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
That's all really had. But the good news is it does have the General Grabber All Terrain sport tires. They're not quite as good as the Continentals we had on the Pilot Trail Sport, but they are better. So you do have an actual better meaty tire to come with it. So that helps. It's not nothing. But I wish they would have done something visually to it. Bumper, maybe the wheels off the current Pilot Trail Sport, which looks super cool. These are the old Pilot wheels that are on here. They're kind of like a part spin holdover. They're not anything bespoke to the Trail Sport. So that's all I really have for it. But it's painted blue. It looks cool. We know it's a good rig. if it hits the fleets, we'll be happy to review it and check it out, see if it's any better than last year's.
Right. No, it'll be quite fun. So okay, I've that's good. Since you stole mine, I found another one, and it's kind of a fun one. We always like reading about these, and Ford and Dodge and Chevy over the years have made some fun ones. Brian, I've got news on the new 2024 Ford F-150 Police Responder.
Yes.
Uh,
Is it Coyote? Is it Coyote or EcoBoost? Which one is it?
well, it's EcoBoost is the bad news for you,
Yeah, but
but
it's faster. Let's be honest.
well, it just means it's really fast. But it
Yeah.
gets kind of like the standard 2024 F-150s for civilians. You get all these police officers now. They get the 12-inch center stack screen and 12-inch instrument cluster screen digital standard.
Okay.
Good for them.
Yep.
And then they also get, Brian, they get they call this police dark mode. Let's see if I can figure this out here. So the F-150 is dark mode, which, as the name suggests, turns off interior lighting and dims cluster lights during surveillance, which, Brian, has become a problem with modern vehicles. Modern vehicles, you take the key off, you open the door, you do anything, or because of these digital displays, it is so bright inside the cab.
It's glowing. Yeah,
you can't do anything. So, so now they've solved that for the police. They know what they're trying to do there. I thought that was pretty cool and interesting. They also have, I'm trying to understand this, another new standard feature with this mode or package includes a supplemental heated sanitization solution.
What?
I don't know what that means. The former, apparently, or I'm sorry, what that means is that temporarily increases interior temperatures above 133 degrees Fahrenheit to reduce viral concentration.
That's interesting. So it basically has an extra heating element. I'm assuming it's probably the heating kit from the diesels that use the electric heating element like a house.
I don't know.
Because they want to kill bacteria from, the baddies that have been in the back.
Yeah.
Okay. That seems awfully energy inefficient when you could just spray it and wipe it. But okay. All right.
I don't know. Pretty interesting. And there's also a feature. Let me read here. I thought this was fun. Let's see. The police perimeter alert automatically secures the vehicle and officer when potential threats are detected. Don't really know how it does that. At the same time, the police engine idle, which is another option, police engine idle, allows officers to exit the vehicle with a key without losing power to lights and sirens. So, anyways, some fun, thoughtful features directly for police. It's funny. Cool. We've got a friend that's in law enforcement locally, and he actually is kind of in charge of purchasing things for his fleet. Back during COVID, they had trouble getting Tahoes and some other vehicles and some Chargers. And I'll just share what he said. I won't reveal the source so we can protect them. But they bought some F-150s because out of necessity and need. And we asked, well, why not more Chargers? And they said the Chargers just spend too much time in the shop, and the F-150s were available over the Tahoes at the time. And they love the F-150s.
Yeah, they still have them as their patrol vehicles there. And basically say because they were fast, as I'm quoting, fast as shit. They were boogie. And keep in mind the police patrol vehicles have a higher top speed than the civilian ones. So 97 is not the top speed. It's like 120 or something on the trucks. And it's meaningful. The thing's ripped.
Right. No, absolutely.
That's cool. That's awesome at the police. And I want to comment on the what was that surveillance mode you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
We had an expedition on loan for like 3 months or 2 months while my wife's car was in the body shop. And I noticed multiple times when I walked in the garage and the key was not even in the vehicle. I'm not touching anything. I'm not touching the door. And it doesn't recognize the key in my pocket. Sometimes we have perimeters where you walk up and the keys in your pocket will trigger the outside lights.
Mm-hmm.
I walked to the fridge in the garage and I heard that some cooling fan turn on under the hood and a light on the interior turned on. So it has some type of motion sensor built into it that it's just seeing me walk by. That's all it is. So I'm wondering there's something like that going with the trucks probably as well. Maybe
it's pretty neat. I don't know. Sometimes this technology that keeps coming in the cars kind of just annoys us. Well, sometimes it's also just really practical, and so it's neat to see Ford figure that out. Look, and sometimes maybe we brag too much about Ford, although usually it's me bragging about Toyota.
Usually,
I'm going to give Ford props here, though. We've talked about this a bunch offline, but what Ford is the best at. And you can argue with me about quality and all kinds of other things or style. That's fine. I look, you're probably right. If anybody wants to argue with me on those, sure. But what they're the best at is what is the person buying their vehicle doing with it, and let's make that better for them. And here they are doing it for the police. So good for them.
Yeah, you can tell they actually got a team together that said, "Hey, let's make a truck for cops."
Yeah.
And those people went, and they didn't just go, "I've seen RoboCop." No, they went and talked to some cops and said, "What would you like out of this?"
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And you can tell. And they do that on all their trims. They're pretty good about that. And like you said, they have definitely had some quality problems over the last few years. They've definitely had some fit and finish problems. The material choices are not the best. But when it comes to ergonomics and intended use, they're one of the best out there. And it's like Honda with packaging. Honda's really good at packaging. Toyota's really good at just lasting forever, in spite of you. It's just every brand has their thing, and that's theirs for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Brian, well, you have some speculation thing. I'm going to let you give a bonus here.
Bonus round. It's going to be short. Look, you and I have been talking about this for a while, and we've been saying, man, wouldn't it be cool if they made that? And it's referencing another Ford. Do you have any guesses?
A Mach E with V8 sounds?
Nope, not EV related.
Oh, should have known that.
But Borla is working on that, by the way. Borla has a sound box.
I saw that. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. What is it?
It is a Maverick. It is not a trimmer.
It's ST.
It is an ST, yes. So there have been concept photos, not concept. There have been, what do they call
spy
them?
Photos?
Spy photos with test mules around Detroit, and they are all lowered, and they're all on Focus RS wheel sets.
Ooh.
Yeah. With dual exhaust and a lower ride height and fender flares for the wider stance. So look, and there's no confirmation, but I pull up a couple of different articles that have written about it. Everyone's going, look, the Focus RS had the 2.3 in it, which we know from the aftermarket and people that own Mavericks, they just bolt to the existing transmission and motor mounts of the 2-liter turbo. It just does. It just bolts in. There's no conflict at all. So look, that motor made 345 horse in the Focus RS. I highly doubt a manual would come out of this, but if it did, oh my gosh, we would buy it. I promise you, Ford, we would buy one.
Take my money.
Yes, please make that happen. But if not, pep up the 8-speed auto a little bit. That'd be a ripper. Pretty excited about that.
That's pretty cool. And yeah, only speculation at this point, but probably happening.
Yeah, I'll predict this. Rolling around. That's the thing. It's actually rolling around Detroit right now. They're not like just a concept drawing.
I'll predict this. I don't expect full blown RS with a manual, but I do expect in between ST RS levels. Somewhere around there.
Well, I think automatic with the over 300 horsepower. I think that's your.
I see that happening, and that's going to be fun. That's going to be actually probably a great combo. That's going to be fun.
That's encouraging. I think the limiting factor is going to be the torque rating of that automatic transmission, because we know that 2.3, if they went that route, 400 pounds of torque is like it does it. No problem.
Right.
Very doable. So we'll see. We'll see. Very excited about that.
Brian, in our time away, we were able to actually interview someone with Nissan at the state fair.
That's right.
And I'm going to cue that up here because we're going to cut to that in a second, and then we'll come back and talk about some recent crossovers we've had briefly, because, look, crossovers are kind of boring, but we had some good ones, so we're going to mention some. But, Brian, that person was Steve Parrott. And
Steve.
Our man Steve with Nissan. He's in charge of a lot of things in Nissan in America, and a fun guy, but very passionate. And it's one of the things we love about Nissan is they're a little kind of the underdog. We like underdogs.
We love them. We love them.
I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in the best way possible. We're Rangers fans. I mean,
Right. Well, let me clean this up a little bit. What you're referring to is that Nissan is doing so much with the tools they have right now, because they are in a situation where they don't have a budget to go out and redo every single platform, and they have updated everything. And every time we get one, we go, "Dang, I love this!"
It's like this podcast. Yeah.
There you go. Exactly.
Doing a lot with little. Anyways. So they came out with the Frontier a few years ago, and then this year they have announced that they're going to have a Hardbody edition. We've talked about it, I think, maybe on the previous podcast or the podcast before that. Go look for it. Well, we got to see it in the flesh at the state fair, and while we were there, we decided to interview Steve Parrott. And Brian, well, let's just turn it over to that interview, and we'll catch you on the other side. Steve, thanks for joining us on the Texas Truck Channel podcast.
It's great to be with you.
Brian's not here, so I just figured we'd have.
I'm right here.
I'm right here.
Well, he's off mic. That's the important thing. So people might actually stay tuned for this segment. But we're at the State Fair of Texas. Beautiful, kind of hot State Fair of Texas. It's way too hot for September 26th,
I'm
right?
with you, brother. I'm with you.
What
Yeah,
do we
I know.
But we walked up on your display here, and you got something really cool, and that is the Nissan Hardbody is coming back. First off, let's talk about the old one.
Yeah.
You've got a 1986 Hardbody. You said this is Nissan's?
Yeah, that's part of our heritage collection. Obviously, we really like our heritage.
Yes.
to put it
Nothing
mildly.
wrong to lean into that.
No,
yeah, you got a lot to lean into.
And of course, the compact truck was just a huge part of our history. It is a big part of our history. And the Hardbody, obviously, when we started making them in 1985, just came on strong, and everybody loved it. And I still see a few out on the road today.
Oh,
believe
yeah.
it or not. Yeah.
Well, part of it's because they run forever. That's part of it.
You can't kill them.
I had a friend that had one. It was just a regular cab with a 4-cylinder manual and just two-wheel drive.
Yeah.
It wouldn't stop. He finally just had to get a newer Nissan. That's what he had to do. So he just wanted, just because he wanted one.
Absolutely.
One of the things we walked around earlier, we were looking at it. You were gracious enough to let us get into it and look at it.
Sure.
We noticed the King cab and the forward or the side-facing jump seats. Now, when you were growing up, did you ever get to sit in those or make your kids sit in those? Or is that not the better way to travel?
Oh, I'm telling you, it doesn't get any better than that, does it? It's when I was a kid, I wasn't very, very big. My brother was like 6'2", and I was
I understand.
4 foot nothing. Yeah. So I always got stuck in the back.
Yeah.
And so I got to sit in those seats. And they were wonderful, weren't they?
Oh man, they were the best.
Especially on a long road trip.
Trying to explain to my kids what that's like, and they just don't know.
No, of course not. But it built character.
It does build character, and so speaking of character, before we move on to the new one, let's just be honest. The most recognizable thing about that Hardbody was those tri-spoke wheels. Those tri-spoke block wheels, whatever they're called. I'm not sure. I'm sure y'all might have a design name for them. But I think it was a year ago y'all released 3 concepts of the Frontier.
We did.
And I can't remember the names of them. You had like a kind of a budget overland one or lifted one with some white wheels, which Steely's look really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You had a full kitted out overland one, and then you had the Hardbody with these wheels. And I think the consensus from everyone was those wheels.
Oh, they loved them. You're exactly right. Everybody loves those wheels. It's probably the most recognizable thing on that truck, on the old Hardbodies. When you see those, I mean, they jump out at you. So yeah, I think we may have debuted those like at Chicago, the Chicago Auto Show.
Okay, yeah.
And we had so much feedback. Man, I want one. I want one.
Yes.
I want one.
Yes.
So thus, here we go.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely amazing. So let's move on to that because we're in a modern world now, and as you kind of alluded to with the King cab and the kids back then versus today, they're spoiled now. So now that we have a Hardbody edition now. It's a package, I guess, on the SV.
Yep.
Based on the SV, but they have a full crew cab to sit in now. And seat belts, and it's probably a lot safer, let's be honest. But maybe not as fun, but safer for sure.
Absolutely.
But tell us about this Hardbody package. What's going on here?
It really is kind of a tip of the hat to the old Hardbody that we started making in '85, and that was so popular. And when we brought those concepts out and showed them to people, those kind of design exercises. People embraced it so much, so we said, hey, let's do this with the current Frontier. The current Frontier, this new generation Frontier has been so popular. Let's put some of those old Hardbody wheels on there that everybody loves. Put some of those decals on there. Do some nice touches. A skid plate underneath there, blacken the grille and the fascia and the bumper there. And exhaust finishers. Just a nice package that really stands out and gives you that appearance that everybody loves. That old Hardbody.
No, and it nails it to the black mirror caps, to the bed. What is that step bar in the bed? What's it called?
Sports bar.
Sports bar.
Yeah.
That's a sports bar in the bed.
Yep.
It ties everything together really well. Even the black bumper, all that stuff. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love that y'all did is y'all put this on based on the SV trim. So it's just a package on top of that. Is it like $3,900?
It's about $3,900. You're exactly right for everything. And you just mentioned, I failed to mention the sports bar. Excuse me.
We'll leave that in.
That's a good part, yeah. But yeah, that's $3,900 gets you all that stuff. It's a nice package. It really is. And again, it gets you that appearance and those cool wheels. I mean, they're worth $3,900 just themselves, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a heck of a bargain. And so, kind of last thing I want to end on, because we got a mower coming on the state fair. And, it's great for audio, but the listeners will fight through it to hear your voice, Steve.
Oh.
But I want to. Is it going to be a limited run? I mean, is it kind of initially? What's the thought process on that, or is it?
I haven't heard, to be honest.
haven't heard? Okay.
I'm just so excited to bring it out. I haven't even talked to anybody about how long it's going to be around.
Well,
so I hope it's around for a bit because I really like it.
Well, I'll go ahead and my guess for y'all would be if y'all need Craig's advice, if Nissan needs it.
They've been craving. We've been craving
good. Well, you can pass this on to the important people. I think if it is limited, you're going to quickly expand it because you're going to sell a ton of these. And I don't know why you would get a Frontier and not get this. It's just too cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the SV is a great package, and it drives so nice. I know the Frontier Pro 4X is really our designated off-road vehicle, but I would encourage folks, if you're interested in the Frontier, go drive an SV. They drive very nice.
Yeah.
And the hardbody package is on the 4x4. And so it gives you that off-road capability, and also with this hardbody package, you get those all-terrain tires.
Oh yeah, no, it's a beautiful package. It's a screaming bargain, I think, at $3,900 on top of that SV package, which is already a good deal. Yeah, you'll need to make more of these. There you go. There's your free advice.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Great to be with you.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, and as expected, that was a fun interview. Had so much fun with Steve, and seeing that thing in person, Brian. Well, here's my takeaway. I want the hard body, the new one.
Yep. Me too.
And I want that old one we got to see in person. I want both of them.
Oh, the old one was amazing. By the way, we have an episode on this out. We actually filmed it. He was nice enough to let us get in the old one, and God, what a throwback that was. A lot of comments said, "Man, that new one's sweet. I want the old one too." This is the same thing. This is the same thing. So, anyways, thanks to Steve. That guy's a legend. I mean, when it comes to comms reps and PR reps with brands, you can't beat him. Love him.
No,
thanks, Steve.
And he was such a sport. First, he's like, "Well, I don't really know," but he's like, "All right, cool." You know, he was fun. And we look. This podcast, one of the reasons we love the podcast is we get to do these interviews. This podcast is an excuse to do some of those. So thank you, and thanks for putting up with that. And we'll get more for you. So,
and Steve, thanks for putting up with Craig. That was very nice of you.
The other way around. But anyways, all right, Brian. Well, now bad news is we got to talk about crossovers. And the reason we're talking about crossovers is because it's just what we've had, and we try to talk about what's fresh in our fleet and what's fresh in our brains. And I'll be honest, these two came up and on the schedule, Brian, and we were both like, don't really want to drive this. Do I have to drive it? Can you drive it all week? I don't want to swap. Like, it's a lot of work. We have to coordinate these things. We have to meet up with each other, and we've got busy schedules.
Yeah, look, we live almost an hour away from each other, so we have to swap midweek and then meet up on the weekend to film. Like, it just, we kind of go, do we need to swap? Do I personally need to drive that one? Like, that's what goes through our minds.
Yeah, and we've been tired and not feeling well, both of us, and so it's just like, anyways.
We've had first rodeos and state fairs and all kinds of media events we've been running. So, a lot.
First one was the Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid.
Yep.
And the other one was a Hyundai Kona, the all-new Kona.
There's two more.
Well, we've had more than that. Yeah. The two most recent. But go ahead. You can add more than that because we've had a lot lately.
I'm just going to rattle them off. We've got the Mazda CX-50 Meridian Edition, which we've been begging for that. Luckily, our Mazda rep was nice enough to get it to us right away. And it's we did a hill test. We did a road test with that. We also had the Buick Encore Avenir.
The GX. Encore
GX Avenir. Excuse me. Thank you. Which
don't forget we had another vehicle with an X.
Which one's that?
We've had it twice now this year.
Oh,
you loved it. You drove it to Houston.
I know. I did. I took it to Houston. It was great. The Infiniti QX60.
Yeah.
Which was like a Pathfinder with leather. I loved it. It was awesome. Also the Ford Escape Platinum. And then what else do we have here? Grand Highlander. Oh God, we've had a slew of these things lately.
We've had a slew.
Chevy Trax as well.
And we're not going to dissect and get into all of them.
No.
I don't want to do that because again, we don't want to lose audience.
And Kia Sorento as well.
Yeah, we've had a bunch. But here's what I am going to say. I think all of these I'm thinking through, except maybe the Escape because of timing. Logistics, we weren't able to swap. I drove all these on my dirt road to work and back. And I had some exceptional fun times in three of them specificly.
I think they were all better than expected because of
way better than expected because they soaked up the bumps well. They're all-wheel drive. They have turbos. There's spunky
V6s. Yeah, they've got enough power.
One of them had Blizzaks, the QX60,
which was amazing, by the way.
Yeah, and they were a hoot to drive and so much fun. The QX60, the CX50, and the Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid, believe it or not, were so much fun to drive on these dirt roads. I took them at speed, like up to 70 miles an hour. They handled them wonderfully. The CX-50 handled the turns the best. The QX60 handled a lot of it really well because of the Blizzaks and the naturally aspirated V6.
Just
And the
grip
Santa Fe
generally.
Hybrid maybe blew me out of the water because it handled the speed really well. But traction control was a little intrusive on some turns, but it did wonderful. Quiet, no rattles. It was great.
Yeah,
So
it
much
was
fun.
awesome.
These are
Yeah,
good
you
little
know,
cars.
they're
So
great. Well, it's funny because we joke all the time about the sedan is dead, the crossover's taking over, which is true. All that's true. What used to be a Lumina or a Ford Taurus or an Altima is now a Pathfinder or a Rogue or there's a whole slew of them. In fact, Toyota's coming out with like 2 more crossovers next week. They're spawning off each other. It's ridiculous. You go to Kia's website, for example, or Hyundai's, and it's like we've got 15 on each brand, and they are all like stepping on each other in the categories. Just which shape and color do you want? Go get it. And I'm here to tell you,
the Goldilocks and the Portage, you can find the one that's just right for you. It's out there.
well, if you can't, you shouldn't be driving. Like, there's not a car for you. Then is what I'm getting at. But what I want to take away from this is that we don't love these. They're not. We're a truck channel by and large. They're not the most trucky things, but things like the Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek, man, it really showed itself well on the hill test. It kicked butt. The QX60 was very luxurious for the money and everything else, and just in general and comfortable. The Santa Fe blew you away, and ergonomically, it's huge inside. I don't know. Like they took someone from Honda to make that work. They just got it figured out. I don't know. That's pretty much it. The CX-50 was the best looking, I think, out of all of those, like by far, and maybe not the most impressive off road, despite its packaging. Kind of likes them there, but it's fun. These are I get why they keep selling them.
Well, and look, they all have plenty of space. They're easy to get in and out of. They all ride well. They all handle decently.
Yeah,
and they all got pretty good mileage for the most part. Most of them. And if you're responsible, you could get 30 miles a gallon on almost all of them.
Yeah, and they're doing better than what a small block Caprice would have done when our parents were having kids. And they had the shock travel of that Caprice still, so they've kept that going. So there's some merits there. That's cool. No, we've actually enjoyed them quite a bit. Unfortunately, they don't get the views that trucks do. But what we have done, and if you are a fan of our YouTube channel, we've moved a lot of these road tests to the TTC Cars channel to keep our truck guys happy, and kept the off-road videos of all these on the truck channel because it's more rugged. So that's what we're doing there.
And we still test all of them. In fact, I'll be honest, we almost enjoy testing these more so than we do real off-roaders, quote unquote, or real trucks, quote unquote.
We do, absolutely.
These are going to struggle more, and it's a testament to the engineering of these traction control systems, how some actually do make it. So
yeah, it's impressive. It's just crazy how this separates the boys from the men real quick when you get that really does. Whereas most trucks make it, although not all. The crossovers that do show those trucks up. It's pretty cool.
No, it is really cool. So, Brian, with that, I think we've exhausted all our resources tonight, and we've got more coming your way. Hopefully, we won't be sick for the next few weeks, and hopefully, we didn't cough too much in your ear. If we did, thanks for suffering through that. With that, Brian, leave us a review on iTunes Podcast, Apple Podcast. That's what they call it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Leave us a review on there, and send us an email to breakcheckshow@gmail.com. Letting us know you did, and we will make sure we get you something. That's how we can do more of these, just like the hitting the like button. It's the same thing on podcast side. Got to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
That's it. Thanks for listening.
All right. We'll see you next time. Hear you next time. Listen to you next time. Talk to you next time.
Something like that.
That's enough. All right. See ya.